Hi guys, welcome back. So today I'm doing my July reading wrap up. So what I've read in July, I'm gonna post a video like this every month to show you guys what I've read and kind of talk about the books that I have enjoyed reading this month. So today is the perfect day to talk about books. It is rainy outside, it is gloomy, it is 74 degrees here, and it's just a perfect day for books, you know? I've got my coffee and let's talk. So the first book I read this month was Once Upon a Broken Heart. In my last video, you guys saw the shelf that my husband made of all my wrap TBRs. So this was one that I pulled from the shelf, and honestly, I really wasn't expecting to like this. It was a YA fantasy, and I'm not a big fan of YA, you guys know this, but this surprised me. I believe I gave this a 4.5 stars, and it's magical, it's whimsy, the writing is so good in this, surprisingly for a YA. I think Stephanie Garber really does this well, and she does her characters really well. I loved Evangeline, I loved Jax, you know, even Apollo had some character to him, and just the story just felt so fairy tale like, but with higher stakes than a fairy tale. And it just pulled me in and gripped me, and I could not let go. I made a promise to myself that if I pulled a series, that if I truly liked the first book, I would go and buy the rest of the series and read it right after. So that's what I did. I really recommend this. It's a great series. I could not put this book down. I could not put this series down. And if you just love the fairy tale aspect, but with higher stakes, it really pulls its weight. So I highly recommend this book, and the writing is really good. I love Stephanie Garber's writing. It's not super simple, but it's also not super complex. So she easily pulls you into these stories, and it doesn't feel juvenile or too chunky. It flows really well, and you know, I'm a big person of prose, so this prose was really good. And yeah, let's move on to the next book. Obviously, you guys know I moved on to the next book. That book left a cliffhanger, so this is The Ballad of Never After by Stephanie Garber. It's her second book. Oh, let me tell you, this was even better. Like, second books and series are always better. I don't know why. I mean, obviously, in the first book, the author kind of gets us into the story, and then the second book, the stakes kind of get higher, and this started, it was like back to back high stakes conflict, adventure, action. Like, it was just, I literally could not put this one down. I think I finished it in like 3 days. And just the relationship between Jax and Evangeline just picked up steam. What I love about this series is that there's no explicit content. Like, there's suggestive spice, but not anything that actually happens. I think Stephanie Garber does really well on the tension and longing of these characters and yearning. And let me tell you, I love Jax. He was my favorite character. He just had so much character development through this series, and like, he just comes off as this, you know, I hate the world, I will never find love, like, you know, the morally gray man that we all love, you know. And Evangeline's kind of like his kryptonite, but you know, he never breaks that character for a long time, up until this one. Let me tell you, the ending, the plot twist, like, it just, I about threw this book. I think I actually did. I think I actually threw this book at the end because I was so angry. Not because it was bad, angry because I was like, what even just happened? Yeah. Also, respectfully, I hate Apollo. You will hate him too if you read this. So this was honestly a 5-star for me. Honestly, 5 stars. Like, I was so invested in their relationship. I was invested in the plot and the action that was going on, and just everything about this book was just 5 stars. Like, I have nothing more to say. It was chef's kiss. So yeah, let's move on to the third book. So the third book, A Curse for True Love, was, this also pissed me off. It pissed me off because we got POVs in here that I just had no care for. As you heard me say in the second book, I hate Apollo. And guess what we get? We get Apollo POVs. And it took me a while to actually, like, really get into this one, mostly because it left off so crazy at the end of the second one that I was just like, I can't, like, this just feels like a downgrade in the beginning. But it really does pick up. You get, you know, high stakes again with certain characters and just the longing. We get a couple Jack's POVs, not as much as I would liked, but that's okay. He made up for it, or Stephanie Garber made up for it, actually. Yeah, but as much as I hated the Apollo POVs, I feel like it definitely moved the story a little further, just because, you know, we get to see why he's doing the things he's doing to Evangeline and to, like, the kingdom and everything. So, as much as I hated his character, you know, all I can say is that he got the life he deserved, okay? He got the life that he deserved. And so this was an amazing wrap-up of the series. I think it ended really well, and I just think this was a 5-star series for me. I think I gave this book a 4.75, not a full 5, just because I think it took me a while to actually get into it in the beginning because of just Stephanie Garber leaves you emotionally wrecked in the second one, and then you have to come into the third one a little slower. But still very worth it. The ending is very worth it. You know, the story is still very good. So I highly recommend this series to anyone. If you are kind of on the edge about this series like I was, it will blow your mind. It will blow your mind. It definitely blew mine. I mean, this is honestly, hot take, better series than ACOTAR. Honestly, for me. Because ACOTAR just kind of got hot and heavy after a while, and that's just not what I like. I want the characters' relationship to be earned, and Stephanie Garber definitely did that. That was very much earned for me. So definitely pick up this series. I highly recommend. Please do. So my next book for July, I kind of shifted gears a little bit. I started this book, Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin, if I said that right. I started this book before I started the Once Upon a Broken Hearts trilogy, and I got like 125 pages in. I started reading it with my husband, but he kind of gave up after 125 pages. I think it was a little too literary for him, and he's more of a plot reader than a character reader. But man, I am a big character-driven person. I love when characters are written so well and it is just fully about the characters, and this book definitely delivered that. It is about friendship and how friendship moves through life, and how when you, or how to navigate friendship when through the failures and successes of life. These two characters, Sam and Sadie, they were childhood friends for a while, then had a fallout, and then saw each other again when they were adults in college, and they decided to make video games together. So it's just their life of, you know, that friendship, making video games together, miscommunication, just like, you know, you question like what's gonna happen between these two characters, and it's just a really moving story. It makes you think about life. It makes you think about the relationships in your life, and you know how friendship can kind of test time, you know, and how it is very human to have friendships where you love them so much, but you have to let go sometimes and come back together when you guys are, you know, a little more mature. And just, this was so beautifully written. The prose was beautiful. I appreciated this book. Like this, I think I rated a 4.5. It was just, it moved me. It will move people. The prose was beautiful, and honestly in the beginning it takes a little bit to get into, but just the minor characters as well, like the character development of all the characters, whether they were minor or major, like it was really good. I love the way Gabrielle wrote these characters, and I feel like I'm saying characters a lot, I'm so sorry, but this is a very character driven story. So if you like to get into people's minds and just the daily life of people, I highly recommend this. Or if you like the video gaming kind of world, this might be a book for you as well. They do talk about a lot of popular games that we have today, and then the games they make, and you know, the gaming company, and kind of it touches on a little bit of misogyny in the gaming company as well. I think this is set in the 90s, in the early 2000s, so just how life was back then for the gaming industry and women in this industry, because the main character is a woman and obviously a man, but they work together, and it's kind of this fight of like, well, the woman had more into this game, but the man kind of takes credit. Like, it's just that conflict between the characters, and I think it was done really well. It's not cliche. I think these are very real conversations that will happen in a day-to-day life between friends. So, highly recommend this one. So, let's move on to the next book. So my last book of the month, I actually finished the day before August 1st, so literally yesterday, and it was Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. She has been one of my favorite authors. I loved The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I read that book like maybe 4 or 5 years ago, but I absolutely loved her writing. I loved how she did that story. And it took me a while to actually pick this up. I think it came out last year, and I was actually buddy reading it with my friend, and I feel kind of bad because I kind of left her in the dust. I finished this in 2 sittings, so this is how good this book was to me. And honestly, I'm not a big crier for books. I do search for those emotional stories sometimes, but our society kind of lets me down. Our generation kind of lets me down when they recommend emotional stories. And I think the last time I truly like cried so hard for a book was 4 years ago when I read A Little Life. But this book, I cannot recommend this enough. I rated this a 5 stars. 5 stars. maybe even 6. This changed my brain chemistry, okay? Like, just the familial relationships in this book was done so well. It is very real, and this is set in the 80s, and it's about a woman astronaut trying to get into NASA in the 80s when they first started letting women join, and very competitive, very, you know, they had standards. 99% of NASA was men at that time, so we get kind of the misogyny and all of that. And Taylor Jenkins Reid does not tell us what kind of love story it is, just says a love story. And just a disclaimer, it is a lesbian story. I loved it. I loved every minute of it. The relationship felt so real, and in a time where gay relationships were looked down on, and especially working in a government-centered job, it is very hard to, you know, have that relationship in the workplace. So it's navigating how they have this relationship when society kind of tells you no, and you will lose everything if you express this to the world. And I'm not gonna lie, took half the book for the main character to realize she was gay, but that's okay. It was rewarded. It was rewarded. But just the relationships and characters in this book were so well written. Just not only the love interest, but just the friends that were written for the main character in NASA, and just the familial relationships. Honestly, the last 30 to 20 pages made me bawl my eyes out. Like, I could not see the pages. I was struggling to get through the pages. I was hyperventilating. I had to stare at a wall, honestly. And that kind of happened multiple times during this book. And I know I'm talking a lot about this book, but there was just so much about it that just changed, you know, me and how I thought about my life. There was a couple times during this that I had to literally pause and just think and just stare at a wall, just because of how much it made me think about my life and, you know, the things that I miss and the things that I've realized that I have just not been doing. Like the stars. They talk a lot about the stars. Obviously, they're astronauts. But a particular part of the book made me realize that I used to look at the stars, and, you know, that was the last time I kind of felt peace in my life, and it kind of just made me stop and go, wow, when is the last time I actually took the time to bring some peace into my life? So it really redirected some of my thinking about my life and just how I felt about my life. And I love when literature does that. I love not only when literature is beautifully written and so beautifully written characters and relationships, but also it makes you think about your own life and makes you question things in your life. And I think this does that so well. So well. And honestly, the tension that was written in this story, not only between the relationships, but also the tension we feel as readers reading the plot that's going on, was really well done. I mean, she starts with the conflict immediately in the first chapter, and then we go on to see like what led up to this, and then again a little bit of what is happening now, and then what led up to it, and then finally at the end we get the resolution of the conflict. And just so good. So good. I love how she wrote it. It was so strategically well done, from just how she laid this out and her writing style. I love this author. I cannot recommend this author enough, especially this book. I mean, I thought The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo was my number one, but this quickly became my number one. So there's nothing more to say. Like, just beautiful story. And I know I say that a lot, but it's just, I can't. I cried my eyes out, and I never cry my eyes out. So I'm very picky about emotional stories, and this one hit a little too deep for me. I have not cried that way in 4 years, and I also have not found a book that changed my brain chemistry in about 3 years. So it's been a long time, and this was kind of a pivotal book for me. So I highly, highly recommend this book. If you take anything from this, this July wrap up, I would go and find this book if you're looking for something to make you think about your own life, and just if you need a good cry, this will definitely make you cry. I mean, I flew through this in 2 sittings, so yeah, the story was great. So yeah, those were the books that I read this month. There was a total of 5 books, which is kind of the most I read this year in a month. This was a really emotionally heavy month for me as far as what I read, and so rewarding. I mean, I haven't found books like this in a very long time. I mean, all 5 of them really. They definitely are to my taste, and it was just surprising how much this month really was a banger for me. I mean, not to be slangy or weird, but honestly, I will not forget this month of reading, and I want to continue this this amount of books or more to give you guys more of what I read every month. So my next reading wrap up will be for August. We are on August 1st today, and my current read that I picked out was God of the Woods, so you'll definitely be hearing about that in the next reading wrap up. But if you guys have any recommendations for me or want to see me read something, please comment and let me know, and I will read, or just ideas of what you want to see. I will be posting twice a week on here. But this was honestly such a rewarding month, and I hope to keep the momentum going so I can give you guys a little more content. And yeah, thank you guys for watching and, staying for this long to hear me yap about books. I love yapping, and hopefully soon I will be able to yap about my writing. I'm doing the outline right now. It is, writing a mystery. It makes my brain a little mush because you have to flesh out a bunch of details and make sure the pacing's good and everything's good with that. So I hope to give more content on my writing as well, so stay tuned. Guys, please like and subscribe, and love you guys.